Straight to the papers, of course. François Bayrou resigning after a vote of confidence in Parliament is right at the top in all the newspapers, isn't it, Dipti?
Yeah, it is indeed. Return to the beginning for Emmanuel Macron, or back to zero for him and his government as he prepares to name a new prime minister in the days to come. These are the front pages today, as you see here. He's back to the wall. That's what Le Parisien says. La Dépêche du Midi, which is a regional paper, says back to zero. This one here says, L'Humanité says, calls it the bankruptcy of Emmanuel Macron's whole political ideology. You also have this from the front page of Libération, the super trompe, a French word which basically means a huge slap in the face for François Bayrou, but it also evokes the death of Rick Davies, co-founder of the group Supertramp, yesterday. Also a slap in the face for Emmanuel Macron. That's how a lot of papers see it. A big question now is what happens now? What happens next?
A big political shock in France is also garnering a lot of attention in the international press, isn't it?
It is indeed. The Wall Street Journal says, asks what it calls a $1 trillion question. Who can save France now? And it is pretty scathing in this opinion piece, the paper saying maybe Emmanuel Macron will tap some other hapless soul to manage an unmanageably divided legislature. Maybe he'll call snap parliamentary elections again, but who knows what will come out of that. So you really sense a sort of exasperation even in the international press today. The paper conceding that the fiasco is not François Bayrou's fault, but it will be up to French voters to sort this mess out, which will not be easy, given that they, quote, in part, refuse to reward politicians who tell the truth about France's economic malaise. You also have this article from the Daily Telegraph today, which calls France the new Italy. Political instability, soaring debt, public discontentment. France has become the Italy of Europe, at least according to this paper, while Italy's Giorgia Meloni is now looking at 3 years in office. Emmanuel Macron has lost his 6th prime minister, it says, and finds itself much like Italy back in 2011 when it was on the brink of a sovereign debt crisis. But in that case, Italy was able to pull itself back thanks to painful austerity, while France today could find itself paying more to borrow money than Italy. And maybe a little bit of schadenfreude from the Italian papers. Stuart, here you have fiasco, you have chaos on many of the papers here. You also have this paper here, which calls Emmanuel Macron the zombie of Europe. How times have changed.
Yeah, they certainly have. Let's move on to look at something a little bit different. Wall Street Journal, they've published what it says is Donald Trump's signature on a crude letter sent to Jeffrey Epstein. This is back in 2003.
Yeah, that's right. That letter was part of a book of letters, really, to celebrate Jeffrey Epstein's 50th birthday back in 2003, and featured letters written by several of his friends and acquaintances. Now, the Wall Street Journal first reported on this letter back in July, but today it has published it. This after lawyers for the Epstein estate made it available to U.S. lawmakers. Now, you can see that letter here on the front of the Wall Street Journal's website, and it's in this article as well, where you see it's a crudely written letter with the outline of a naked woman, concluded with "Happy birthday, may every day be a wonderful secret." The White House, meanwhile, continues to deny that signature there is Donald Trump's signature, which also, as you see, is also crudely placed on that naked woman image. However, the Wall Street Journal actually went even more in depth and provided a visual breakdown of that birthday letter. Today in this article, you can see it compares Donald Trump's signature to other documents that he'd signed in the past. And it's also created really a big problem for Donald Trump. Part of his campaign last year for the White House was a promise to unseal government files on Jeffrey Epstein. But so far, his refusal to do so has only intensified speculation about his relationship with the convicted child sex offender. It's also put thorns in what was otherwise a pretty solid support base.
Another American story for you. This is about American tourists, though, found themselves heading to the Tunisian capital instead of Nice after a bit of a comedy of errors.
A comedy of errors indeed, sir, but actually kind of one that any of us could really make if you think about it. The American TikToker Brittany Diallo shared a viral video of herself and a friend mistakenly boarding a flight for Tunis, Tunisia, instead of Nice, France. And I'll just see if I can bring up the video for you and you can actually see them in a flight asking one of the passengers, is this going Tunis? And the passenger says, Tunis, yes, Tunis. And then they realize they're actually not talking about the right city at all. Unfortunately, the video's not coming up. They then had to Google to find out where Tunisia is and realize that they were actually heading for a whole different continent. They tried to leave the plane at that point, but they weren't allowed to since their flight was actually for Tunis and not Nice.
I think there's a bit of a clue, isn't there? One begins with a T and one begins with an N. But there you go.
They sound alike, though, in their defence.
Sound alike. You're right, you're right. Dipti, thanks a lot. Dipti with the papers for us here on France 24.